Yesterday, some secret tapes from a whistleblower were brought public by ProPublica and NPR's This American Life. Now, the person in question, Carmen Segarra, was part of an operation that began after 2008 financial crisis, where they were trying to put some window dressing of reform with the Federal Reserve, with banks, with oversight. She was investigating Goldman Sachs, seeing if they had any policy and what their policy was on conflict of interest. Were they enforcing that policy? She claims that they didn't even have a policy. And where it gets interesting is how the Federal Reserve itself tried to cover up her investigation. Now, in this article from ProPublica, they point out that one New York Fed employee, a supervisor, described his experience in trying to look at the relationship between the Federal Reserve and these banks they were overseeing, as well as Goldman Sachs. He described it as regulatory capture. They say that's a phrase commonly used to describe a situation where banks co-opt regulators. He said, he included in the footnote, within 3 weeks on the job, I saw the capture set in. That's a quote from a manager. They tried to get that quote taken out, but that was left in the report. Of course, nobody really read that report. People are now starting to pay attention simply because of these tapes, of the back and forth between this whistleblower. Now, when you look at this, one of the things that strikes me is that the Federal Reserve was supposedly regulating Goldman Sachs. Talk about the fox guarding the hen house. That's about as absurd as it gets. Of course, they have a relationship where they have helped Goldman Sachs as well as all the major banks eliminate their competition, as well as defraud the public, defraud mortgage investors, defraud the people who bought their fraudulent mortgage instruments, their securities that they created without having any real security behind them. In a Wall Street Journal article today, they point out that the Fed rate policies are actually aiding the foreign banks. What a surprise that is as well. They say banks headquartered outside the United States have been unlikely beneficiaries of the Federal Reserve's interest rate policies. They're likely, they say, to keep profiting as the Fed changes the way it controls borrowing costs. They say that foreign firms have received nearly half of both the $4.7 billion in interest the Fed banks paid so far this year. Nearly half of the $5 billion worth of interest. And of course, it's a game that they're playing where they essentially can put their deposits on loan with the Fed and get interest. They can borrow this money out at 0% and loan it back. They say it's a source of virtually risk-free investing. And so what are the banks that are benefiting from this? Well, according to the article, it's banks like Deutsche Bank, UBS, as a Swiss bank, Bank of China, Bank of Tokyo, and then, of course, the usual suspects in America, JP Morgan, Wells Fargo, Bank of America. This is what a former economist for the Federal Reserve said, a very telling quote. He said, it's a small transfer from U.S. taxpayers to foreign taxpayers. No, first of all, it's not small. Secondly, it's not going to foreign taxpayers. It's going to foreign banks. Deutsche Bank, UBS, Bank of China, it's not going to foreign taxpayers. And he goes on to say that the transfer was a side effect of Fed policy, not a goal. No, the goal of the Federal Reserve has always been a transfer of wealth from taxpayers to the banks, and it's continuing with that same program. It's just now being seen to a larger extent to be a foreign-influenced, foreign transfer of wealth.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Darren McBreen, and here are some of today's top stories that are breaking right now at Infowars.com. The threat posed by grassroots movements like the Tea Party represents a major challenge to the existing world order, and it must be hijacked and misdirected in order to have its potency diffused. This, according to a series of articles in this month's Foreign Affairs magazine, published by the CFR. In a speech to the United Nations General Assembly, Syria's foreign minister accused Barack Obama of arming ISIS terrorists. The Obama administration and its coalition partners are fueling terrorism by arming and funding al-Qaeda militants, and the practice needs to stop, Syrian Foreign Minister Walid al-Muallem said today. Police in Louisiana are urging residents to add surveillance cameras to their homes and then hand over control of the cameras to law enforcement, an effort they claim will make neighborhoods safer. For more information, plus updates and breaking news, go to Infowars.com. Celebrate the spirit of freedom and liberty upon which our nation was founded at InfoWarsShop.com. Molon Lave is ancient Greek for come and take it. This popular design combines both classic Greek Spartan imagery with modern M16 assault rifles. Now available in women's tees and proudly made in the USA. Celebrate the spirit of 1776 with the George Washington brass belt buckle or this incredibly sharp-looking 1776 hat. Badass. And be sure to check out the new arrivals at InfoWars Life, where you can prepare your body to perform at peak levels with Survival Shield, Nascent Iodine, Super Male Vitality, and Fluoride Shield. And wake up, America. Immune Support Blend is the healthy choice for the gourmet coffee lover. So get incredibly high-quality, freedom-based products and help fund the revolution at InfoWarsShop.com.